Lena didn't see the blood at first. She was too focused on the weight of the knife in her shaking hand, the way her breath hitched in her throat. The room smelled of iron and regret, and then a choked gasp from the figure on the floor. Lena stumbled backward, her heart pounding so hard she thought it would crack her ribs. Her mind screamed at her to run, to undo what had just happened. But then, footsteps. A voice. "Oh my God, Lena, what did you do?" She turned, and there was Daniel, standing in the doorway, his face twisted in horror, his eyes darting between her and the unmoving body at her feet. And just like that, everything they had built, everything they had once been, was over. Lena had loved Daniel once, maybe too much. They had met on a night that felt like destiny, a concert, a crowd, and an accidental collision that changed everything. She had been laughing, lost in the music, when suddenly, ice-cold liquid soaked through her shirt. She turned sharply, already preparing to snap at whoever had just drenched her. But then she saw him. Daniel Carter. He stood there, eyes wide, holding an empty cup, his lips curving into a sheepish grin. He was unfairly handsome, the kind of man who knew exactly how charming he was. "Okay, hear me out," he said, raising his hands in mock surrender. "That wasn't entirely my fault." Lena arched a brow. "Oh, whose fault was it then?" Daniel leaned in slightly, smirking. Gravity's. She had wanted to be mad, but instead she laughed. And just like that, the spark ignited. Their love was reckless. They spent nights chasing the sunrise, getting lost in cities they didn't belong to. They lived for stolen moments, for midnight confessions whispered in the dark. And when Daniel asked her to move in with him, she didn't even hesitate. They believed their love would never fade. But love doesn't just vanish overnight. It rots. Slowly. Quietly. It started with small things. Daniel spent hours streaming, his face illuminated by the glow of his computer screen, his attention always on an audience that wasn't her. Lena tried to pull him back, but he was slipping through her fingers, disappearing into a world she couldn't reach. She began to notice the way he hit his phone screen when she walked in, the late-night whispers, the conversations that ended the moment she entered the room. "You're overthinking things," Daniel would say, pressing a kiss to her forehead. But the feeling in her gut refused to leave. Something was wrong. Then, one evening, Lena came home early. She stepped inside, her heart racing for no reason at all. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. Then she heard it, a woman's voice, coming from their bedroom. Her breath hitched. Her nightmare was real. She moved before she could think, her hands closing around something cold and sharp, a knife from the kitchen counter. She pushed open the bedroom door and saw her, a woman, sitting on Daniel's bed. Everything after that happened too fast. A scream, a struggle, a flash of silver, then blood, and then Daniel's voice, sharp with horror, breaking through the haze of her rage. "Oh my God, Lena, what did you do?" And in that moment, as she stared down at the unmoving body, she realized this wasn't a love story anymore. It was a tragedy. Lena stared at her reflection in the mirror. She barely recognized herself anymore. The spark in her eyes, the one Daniel used to love, was gone. She looked hollow, like a shadow of the woman she used to be. Her fingers traced the dark circles beneath her eyes, the result of too many sleepless nights. She had everything she thought she wanted. Daniel, a home, a life they had built together. So why did it feel like she was fading away? Daniel hadn't always been this way. There was a time when he would wake her up with coffee and lazy kisses, when they would lie in bed for hours, whispering secrets that belonged only to them. But now he barely looked at her. His world had shrunk to the size of a screen, his attention reserved for the thousands of faceless strangers who watched him stream every night. Lena would sit on the couch, watching him talk and laugh into his headset, his voice full of energy and charm, the way it used to be with her. But when the cameras were off, so was he. "Come to bed," she had asked one night, standing at the doorway. "One more game, babe," he said, not even glancing at her. She waited and waited, but he never came. It wasn't just the streaming. It was the way he changed. Daniel had started locking his phone. Conversations ended the moment she walked into the room. He took late-night calls on the balcony, his voice low, his eyes darting toward her whenever she got too close. "Who was that?" she asked once, trying to keep her voice light. "No one," Daniel said too quickly. And that was when it started, the doubt, the paranoia, the sinking feeling in her gut that something was terribly wrong. She tried to ignore it. She tried to believe him. But belief was a fragile thing, and hers was breaking apart. The final straw came one night when Lena couldn't sleep. She walked into the living room, expecting to see Daniel at his computer, like always. But he wasn't there. His phone, however, was unlocked. Her heart pounded as she picked it up. There were messages, and one of them made her blood run cold. "I miss you. Can't wait to see you again." Her vision blurred. Her hands shook. She forced herself to breathe, to think. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Or maybe it was exactly what it looked like. Lena confronted Daniel that night. He laughed at first, shaking his head. "You're overreacting," he said, as if she was the problem. "Then show me your phone." The smile vanished. "Lena, don't do this." Her chest tightened. There it was. The confirmation. She felt something inside her snap. Not in rage, but in realization. She had already lost him. And the worst part? She had no idea just how much she was about to lose. Lena sat in the dimly lit apartment, the glow from Daniel's computer screen flickering across her face. The room felt too quiet, too hollow, just like her. It had been 3 days since she found the message. 3 days of pretending everything was normal, of forcing a smile, while her mind spiraled into darker places. Daniel still acted the same, still laughed into his headset, still buried himself in his online world, as if nothing had changed. But for Lena, everything had changed. She was unraveling, piece by piece, and she had no idea how to stop it. It hadn't always been this way. There was a time when Daniel couldn't keep his hands off her, couldn't go a day without pulling her into his arms and whispering how much he loved her. Now, she could stand right beside him, and he wouldn't even notice. She had tried to talk to him, tried to save them. "We need to fix this, Daniel," she had said one night, her voice barely above a whisper. He sighed, rubbing his temples. "I know. I've been busy." "Busy doing what?" "Ignoring me." His eyes flickered with something unreadable before he pulled her close, kissing her softly, as if that would be enough to make her forget. "I'll do better, babe. I promise." But promises meant nothing when his heart was already elsewhere. The paranoia consumed her. Lena started noticing things she hadn't before. The faint scent of perfume on his clothes that wasn't hers. The way he would check his phone in the middle of the night, smiling at messages she wasn't allowed to see. The missing pieces of their love were piling up, and she was too scared to put them together. Until one night, she finally broke. Daniel was in the shower. His phone, for once, was left on the dresser, unlocked. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. There it was, a name she didn't recognize, a woman's name, and underneath it, dozens of messages. "I miss you. Can't wait to see you again. Wish you were here instead of her." Lena felt the air leave her lungs. She had been right all along. And yet, the truth still shattered her. The confrontation was inevitable. That night, Lena waited. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just sat on the couch, gripping the phone in her hand, waiting for Daniel to come home. When he walked in, she looked up. Calm, cold, dangerous. "Who is she?" His face paled. "Lena. Don't lie to me." Daniel hesitated, and in that second of silence, she already had her answer. But then, something unexpected happened. "It's not what you think." His voice cracked slightly, eyes darting toward the phone in her hand. "I can explain." Lena let out a sharp, humorless laugh. "Oh, this should be good." But before he could speak, his phone buzzed. They both looked down. The message on the screen made Lena's blood run cold. "Did you tell her yet?" For the first time, Daniel looked scared. He lunged for the phone, but Lena pulled it away, her heart hammering. "Tell me the truth, Daniel. Right now." His lips parted, and for the first time since she had met him, she saw real fear in his eyes. "Lena, you don't understand." But she did. She understood everything now. And she knew this betrayal was only the beginning. because something darker was waiting for her, and she wasn't ready for it. Lena was no longer sure who she was. She sat in their darkened apartment, the only light coming from the dim glow of Daniel's computer screen. The chair where he usually sat was empty, but his presence still haunted the space. The weight of the phone in her hand was unbearable. She had read the message over and over, the words slicing through her like a blade. Did you tell her yet? It wasn't just an affair. It was a secret, a lie big enough to terrify him. And Lena needed to know the truth. The apartment felt like a graveyard of their love. Everything inside it, the framed pictures on the wall, the couch where they once curled up together, the bed where they whispered promises, it all felt fake now. Had she ever really known him? She thought back to the early days, when Daniel made her feel alive, when their love was reckless and real, when she believed he was the only person in the world who truly saw her. But now she realized the truth. He had been hiding parts of himself from the very beginning, and now those hidden pieces were starting to surface. The apartment was eerily silent when Daniel finally walked in. Lena didn't say a word. She just held up the phone, the message still glowing on the screen. Daniel froze, his face drained of color. His reaction wasn't guilt, it was fear. "Who is she?" Lena asked, her voice unnervingly calm. Daniel swallowed hard. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. "Say something, Daniel." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is." But before he could answer, the doorknob twisted. Lena's breath caught in her throat. Someone else was here. The door creaked open. A woman stepped inside. Tall, dark hair, unfamiliar, but something about her felt wrong. Lena stood, her pulse hammering in her ears. "Who the hell are you?" The woman's lips curled into a smile, but her eyes were cold. "You must be Lena." Lena turned to Daniel, waiting for an explanation. He wouldn't look at her. "Daniel." Her voice shook. "Who is she?" His silence said everything. And then the woman spoke again. "I'm his cousin." Lena blinked. That wasn't what she expected. His cousin. The woman nodded, stepping closer. "Too close. We have a lot to talk about." Lena didn't trust her. Something felt off. Daniel had lied about so much already. Why should she believe this? And then she saw it. The woman's hand, moving toward something in her coat. A flash of silver. A knife. Lena barely had time to react before instinct took over. The next moments were a blur, a struggle, a scream. The sharp sting of panic flooding her veins. Then, suddenly, the woman collapsed to the floor. Lena stood over her, the knife now in her own hands. Daniel's strangled gasp filled the silence. "Lena, what did you do?" She turned to him, her breath coming in short, shallow gasps. The blood on her hands felt heavier than her own skin. And in that moment, she realized she hadn't been the one betrayed. She had been set up. Lena's breath came in ragged gasps. The knife felt foreign in her grip, heavy, unreal. The woman lay crumpled on the floor, her dark hair spread like ink against the cold tiles. Blood pooled beneath her, seeping into the cracks. Daniel was still frozen in the doorway, his face twisted in horror. "Lena," he whispered, voice cracking. "What did you do?" She couldn't answer. She didn't know. 1 second, she had been defending herself. The next, she was a killer. Or at least, that's what it looked like. Daniel moved forward suddenly, grabbing her by the arms. "We have to call someone," he said, his voice barely controlled. Lena yanked herself free, shaking her head. "No, no," she attacked me. She had a knife. She turned to point at it, but it was gone. Her stomach dropped. "What?" She frantically looked around, her pulse a drumbeat in her ears. But there was nothing. No weapon. No proof. Just her, standing over a dead woman. Daniel's gaze flickered with something new, something dangerous. "Lena," he said, stepping back now. "I need to call the cops." She felt the world tilting. No, something wasn't right. This wasn't just a terrible accident. This was a trap. Lena's mind raced. The messages, the secrecy, the fear in Daniel's eyes when the woman arrived. This wasn't an affair. This wasn't jealousy. It was something else. Daniel. she whispered, searching his face. Who was she really? His jaw clenched. I told you. She's my cousin. Lena let out a hollow laugh. Then why did she try to kill me? Daniel said nothing, and suddenly she understood. The message, did you tell her yet? Wasn't about an affair. It was about this. About her. Daniel had been hiding something. Something bigger than betrayal. And now, Lena was the one covered in blood. The silence was broken by a shrill sound. Daniel's phone buzzing on the table. Lena flinched. He did too. Neither of them moved to answer it. Then, the screen lit up with a name. Lena felt her heart stop. Unknown caller. Daniel's hands clenched into fists. He didn't look surprised. She turned to him, her body going cold. Who is that, Daniel? No answer. She lunged for the phone, but he grabbed it first. Lena, don't. But she already knew. Something bigger than both of them was at play. And Daniel wasn't just hiding secrets. He was part of them. The walls of the apartment felt smaller now. The air was thick with something heavy danger. Lena took a step back. You set me up, she whispered. Daniel's eyes darkened. No, Lena. I tried to protect you. From what? The phone buzzed again. Lena turned toward the door. She could run. She could leave. But before she could move, Daniel locked it. You don't understand, he said, stepping closer. It's already too late. And just like that, she realized. This wasn't just about her and Daniel anymore. She was in something much, much worse. And now, she wasn't sure she'd make it out alive. Lena's breath came in shallow gasps. Daniel stood in front of the locked door, his body tense, his eyes unreadable. He wasn't letting her leave. The weight of what had just happened, the woman's body on the floor, the missing knife, the unanswered call, pressed against her like a closing fist. Daniel, she said slowly, forcing herself to stay calm. Move. But he didn't. He just exhaled, shaking his head. I can't. And that was when she knew. This wasn't just about hiding a body. This was about hiding the truth. Lena swallowed, trying to ignore the burn in her throat. This was the man she had once trusted with everything. The man who used to trace soft patterns on her skin at night. Who used to whisper, I'll always protect you. But now, she was the one who needed protecting from him. Just tell me what's going on, she pleaded, her voice barely above a whisper. Daniel sighed, rubbing his temples. It's complicated. Lena let out a shaky laugh. No kidding. She glanced back at the woman's lifeless form. Who was she, Daniel? And don't say cousin. Not this time. Daniel hesitated. Then finally he spoke. Her name was Victoria. His voice was quiet. And she wasn't here for me, Lena. She was here for you. The room tilted around her. What? Daniel ran a hand through his hair, his body wired with tension. There are things I never told you, he admitted. Things I should have told you. Lena stared at him. The past few weeks flashed through her mind. The secretive calls, the locked phone, his fear. How do you know her? She asked. Daniel hesitated. Because I used to work for them. The words hit her like a train. Work for who? Daniel opened his mouth, but the buzzing of his phone cut through the silence. It vibrated angrily in his grip. Lena saw the name flash across the screen again. Unknown caller. And this time, Daniel answered. It's done, he said. She did it. Lena's blood turned to ice. He wasn't talking about Victoria. He was talking about her. Lena took a step back. The missing knife. The locked door. The way Daniel had let her hold the weapon. Her stomach twisted. Oh my God, she whispered. You set me up. Daniel didn't deny it. I didn't have a choice, he murmured. They were going to kill us both. Lena's vision blurred. They. Who the hell was they? And how had she been blind to it all? She thought the betrayal was about another woman. She was wrong. It was something much worse. The phone call ended. Daniel looked at her, his face full of something she couldn't name. Lena, he whispered. I need you to trust me. She almost laughed. Trust? After all this? And then, a knock. Loud, heavy, certain. Lena turned toward the door. Someone was here, and something told her, whoever it was, They weren't leaving without her. The knock came again. Loud, demanding. Lena's pulse hammered in her throat as she turned toward the door. Daniel stood motionless beside her, his face unreadable. But Lena wasn't stupid. She saw the fear in his eyes. Whoever was on the other side wasn't just here for answers. They were here to clean up a mess. And Lena, she was the mess. Lena, Daniel whispered, stepping closer. Listen to me. She backed away. Don't. Her voice shook, but her hands were steady now. She had spent too many years believing in him, believing in the man who had held her at concerts, who had promised forever. But that man was gone. And the one standing in front of her? He had been planning this for a long time. The knock turned into pounding. Lena flinched. Who are they, Daniel? She whispered. His jaw tightened. People you don't say no to. Lena's stomach turned. This wasn't just about the dead woman on the floor. This wasn't just about a setup. This was about power, control, and a secret that she was never supposed to uncover. Daniel turned toward the door, gripping the handle. Stay quiet. Let me handle this. No. Lena wasn't going to let him control the story anymore. The moment he turned his back, she ran. She didn't make it far. She barely reached the kitchen before Daniel caught her arm, yanking her back. Lena, stop. She twisted free, grabbing the first thing she could, a heavy glass vase. And before she could think, before she could second-guess herself, she swung. The glass shattered against Daniel's head. He stumbled, cursing, gripping his temple as blood trickled through his fingers. Lena didn't wait. She ran toward the back door, fumbling with the lock. But then, bang, the front door exploded open. Lena turned just in time to see them. Two men, suits, cold eyes. They didn't hesitate. They grabbed Daniel first, forcing him to his knees. Then, they turned to her. No, Daniel gasped, reaching for her, but they held him down. One of the men sighed, shaking his head. You were supposed to keep her under control, Daniel. Lena's blood ran cold. She wasn't supposed to be part of this. Daniel choked out. The man laughed. She is now. And then blackness. A sharp sting at her neck. The world tilted, twisted, disappeared. The last thing Lena saw before she collapsed? Daniel's face. Full of regret, but not enough to stop them. And just like that, the game was over. Or maybe, it was just beginning.